now has 19 votes. Did I talk that long? You're welcome. Bradley Pierce, the North Carolina bill included duress. Since it includes duress, why does Foundation to Abolish Abortion, Bradley's organization, still support and push on socials for the NC bill?
Good question.
South Carolina.
Yeah, so it said North Carolina, but yes, South Carolina.
Thanks.
Right. So everyone may not be like.
Yeah, catch them up
inside
on where you
baseball.
were. Okay, if you're not on Discord, you're missing out. Bradley's already kind of had a pretty long thing. This is probably someone who's been on Discord, seeing that you've.
So we've been writing into bills a duress clause, which just says that if a woman commits an abortion, commits homicide or commits murder intentionally, but she does so under duress, meaning that, which is legally defined as someone is threatening her life imminently, right? Basically, the best description is has a gun to her head, right? She takes the abortion pill, then that woman cannot be prosecuted. So there's been a lot of people weighing in on this over the past year now, maybe not that, maybe 9 months, something like that. And it's something that a lot of people give a lot of thought to, and I've certainly given a lot of thought to, and a lot of prayers. A lot of people have thought about this, and the argument is, well, there are a couple of arguments. I'm going to, feel free to if I mess it up, but a couple of arguments are: number one, there should be an exception for murder, and then second argument is, how is it equal protection if you can't have a duress defense for killing a born person, right? Because there's actually some states that do have duress defense for killing a born person, like Texas and some other states, but most states do not. So for states that did not, we were writing it in to say, hey, if someone has a gun to their head, takes a pill, then they shouldn't be prosecuted because they're not exercising their free moral agency. Someone has a gun to their head. So there's been a lot of very well-meaning, very respectful conversation about that. So a few months ago, I guess, October, something like that, I was involved in a conversation on Discord where kind of expressed where we as FAA are now, and that is that we're removing it from the legislation that we draft. Now, at the end of the day, it's up to legislators, what they file, but as far as what we recommend, we are no longer recommending inserting that clause into the legislation because, I'll get to the reason, but this is why we still support the South Carolina bill, even though it still has that language in there. And that is that we are not convinced that the language is inherently immoral. Now, I think the language can cause confusion, and I think that it's best to leave it out, and as we discussed, let the courts, apply that, but I do not believe that the language is inherently immoral. And so that's why we still support those bills. I respect those who don't, and there was a bill filed, and I know one related question is, there was a Senate bill filed in South Carolina as well recently, that also had the duress clause in it. We didn't review that. All they did was copy and paste the House bill. So it's not that we said, yeah, go for it. So that was just a copy and paste, and they filed it. So that's where we are as an organization.
I mean, there's a beautiful thing. So to encourage everyone who saw that and wrote papers and engaged in the pushback on it, one, that's awesome. We need that. You do need to have in your movement people who are willing to even, call out the leaders. Like no leader, no organization is untouchable. That's really good. It's also really good whenever they listen, okay? That, as Bradley said, is not convinced that it's inherently evil language, but he sees the point that's being made. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's just like a form of, getting it right. But I think it's not evidence of division. It's actually evidence of unity, that you can actually go there, and that Bradley was willing to hear it out, and to move forward. Another thing, you didn't say this, but the language that is filed and is going forward, that he kind of decided organizationally that they're not going to put it in there. You can't continue to hold them accountable for the language that was in there previously. Don't continue to grind that axe. Just know that fruit has been born and things have become better, and that the conversation is being had. And as someone who's a part of, aware of all this, kind of as much as I can be, it is not being like swept under the rug or something like that. It's being dealt with.
So one clarifying question, because I think the question, if I understood it correctly, it's not so much the idea of if you guys are writing. I think that people are taking at your word on the writing that you're not putting that in. But I think the question is why are you supporting it? But
Yes.
The way that it seemed like you answered it is you don't necessarily think it's the most wise, but it's not inherently immoral. Is that kind of where you guys have landed on duress?
That's where we are right now. As far as the language itself, I think that's what I said. Yeah, we're not convinced that it's inherently immoral, that we are biblically prohibited from supporting it. So that's why we say it.
Yeah, and I'm not someone who wants that language in there, but at the same time, knowing that its intention is to criminalize the intentional murder of preborn humans, and that there is duress offenses that are already in the law, acknowledging that as something that's there. And it's just moving forward in these ways. It doesn't mean that, I've seen things on Facebook. This isn't like a strong rebuke, but I've seen things like, the abolitionist movement is putting exceptions in there. Understand what an exception is. This is something completely different than saying we're going to allow abortions for the health of the mother or the mental health of the mother or something like that, because the culture demands it, so therefore we're going to compromise with the culture of death in order to pass a bill. It's not what's going on. Anything else on that? It might come back up again because I'm just kind of